family today.
You're in a good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Glad to be back today. Glad to be back today. And today we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff. Today we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff. And, I'm asking the question, how is our personal thoughts? How do our personal thoughts, how do they create happiness? How do they create peace? How do they create stress, anxiety, or all the above? And I want us to start thinking about that today because I think that sometimes we don't realize how often our thoughts create good things and make us feel good, and sometimes they don't make us feel good at all. And I think it's been an interesting time to be alive, obviously. And it's actually been a heck of a time, I think. And I think maybe some of us are, well, it's been challenging. Maybe more recently it's been a little more challenging. Maybe more recently it's been a little more edgy. And we've dealt with a lot of situations. A lot of us saw what was going on and we saw a lot of this coming. And it was interesting when I look back to the beginning of this year. I had some friends that were living in China, and so I saw all this kind of showing up and all the things that came with it. And this year's changed many of our lives. And now we're in the home stretch, right? Now we're in the home stretch of this year. It's December. We're in the home stretch. And I think that the holidays are here, and many of us are loving the holidays. Some of us feel like it's crept up so quickly. Some of us feel like we've been working so hard that we're kind of missing it. Some of us are not in the mood for it. Some of us are happy about it. Some of us are sad about it. Some of us want it. Some of us don't. And so we have all that going on. So, what are we doing right now to be able to monitor our thoughts, to really understand how we feel, to understand how we feel about what's happening around us, but also how do we monitor our thoughts to be able to really connect with ourselves? I have a question, and I'm sure that many of you will agree, yes. But did you know that our emotions are caused by our thoughts, right? I think it's interesting when I ask a client, well, why are you feeling that way? Well, I don't know. Or I don't know. I have no idea. Well, yeah, you do. You do know. Because when we have a feeling, an emotion, if we feel depressed or anxious, resentful, sad, it's based on a thought that we had previously right before the feeling, right? That's what it is. It's like you have thought, predicated, then you have the emotions. You have thought, then emotion, thought, then emotion, thought, then emotion, thought, then feeling, thought, then feeling. And that's what we have. Did you know that we also can color what other people say to us based on our personal thoughts? Did you know that as well? So when somebody says something to us, we can actually color that, change it, augment it based on what other people, what they're saying, but based on our own personal thoughts. And I want you to kind of sit with that for just a moment. I want you to kind of sit with that for just a moment because we don't realize that we're doing this in every relationship. We don't realize that we're doing this with every friendship. We don't realize that we're doing this with our family. We don't realize that we're doing this with our spouse, significant other. So, this is a big thing. How aware are we? How aware are we of our thoughts? But better yet, I have a better question. How unaware are we of our thoughts? And how are these thoughts coloring our life? And I think right now, more than anything, I think that a lot of us are dealing with lots of feelings all at one time. And so we're going to walk through this. We're going to have a little bit of fun. There's going to be some Q&A today. It's going to be a little bit of fun. Here we are live on USA Radio Networks, GCN, Westwood One, and we're talking about all this stuff because why? Because it's important. Because honestly, this is what's important. We have to really think about who we are and where our lives are and how we can get a better idea, a better concept, a better feeling, a better everything when it comes to our life to be able to understand where we are and where we're going and where we want to be. I think that a lot of people, we look toward other people to help us figure that out. But I've realized that if we look toward other people to make decisions in our life, we're not in a very good place. We also are not making those decisions for ourselves. And that's a big deal. So let's talk about this. Some of us forgot even what we're doing a lot of times, and that's something else that I think is very important. Is that some of us forget what we're doing, and I forget what I'm doing sometimes. Haven't you ever done that where you're in the kitchen and you're looking for something, and you walk back in the kitchen and you're like, what the heck was I looking for? You go look around, you can't find it, and then you're like, oh, doggone it, that's what I was looking for. But it takes a few minutes to get the brain going. It takes a few minutes to get the brain going, and it's like, ah. But it's interesting because a lot of times we don't even remember what our actions are, much less our thoughts. I mean, we forget things. We forget even what we did last weekend. I mean, how many of you were like, somebody was talking to you and they're like, yeah, what did you do on Saturday? You're like, I don't even remember. I have no idea. And that wasn't far back. I mean, sometimes you can ask somebody what they did the day before, they don't remember. And nowadays, especially in this year, a lot of people are there. The days start kind of mixing together. The socializing is kind of limited. The days start seeming the same over and over again, much like Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. Many of us feel that way. And so the days start kind of colliding together. They start coming together, right? And they start mixing together. And you kind of go, did I do that yesterday or did I do that today? Or was that the day before? Oh, it's interesting. I've had some clients that say, hey, we'll meet on the following Friday. Well, the following Friday is January 1. Not going to be working that day. But many of us, well, our issues, our challenges, the stuff that we have to do, the things that we're facing, all of these things are causing us stress. It's causing us anxiety. And then some of it we're happy about. So it's this combination of thoughts and feelings. Like, okay, it's the holidays, I'm supposed to feel happy. Okay, I'm working hard, I'm doing this, or I lost my job, or this is happening, or I'm going to be able to see my family. So that's a plus or that's a minus. All of that intertwined. So the first question that I want to ask you in today's show, and I want you to think about this stuff and take it to heart, is how do you think about yourself? Your thoughts. What are the thoughts that you have about yourself? Okay, I'm going to give you some ideas. When you think about yourself, do you think about fan or foe? Are you the cheerleader of your own life? Or are you the judge and executioner? Okay. Is there self love or is there self loathing? I want you to think about that. And a lot of times there's going to be a lot of gray area here, guys. I am not limiting gray. I'm a big fan of the gray. I love gray. I don't wear it as much as I used to. I used to wear a lot of gray. It's not my best color on me, but I like the concept of gray, okay? Because there is no black and white. I know there's a lot of folks out there that think that way. And we make the mistake when we jump in with them and start thinking black and white thinking because we think everything's going to happen immediately. And we think that their timeline is correct when it's absolutely not. We think that what they're saying is absolutely correct when it's absolutely not. It's just dependent on their perception. So think about that. Fan or foe, cheerleader or judge, jury, and executioner, self love or self loathing. And this is powerful because, there's a lot of in between. There's a lot of in between. And that's what I want us to think about. What is the in between? What is the in between? And I like, though, the concept of being my own fan. I like that because, being somebody that supports yourself. And it's hard to get there because a lot of times we have programming in our own head that tells us that we're not good enough, that we're not successful enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not handsome enough, we're not tall enough, we're not smart enough, we're not fast enough, whatever that looks like. There's a lot of put downs from the past, right? Some of us have gone through a lot of bullying. We've gone through maybe parental issues where you were put down by the people that you actually looked up to. And I think this is powerful. This is the stuff that we have to think about because those things at an early age reside in our brain. They reside in our brain, and they create this programming. And this programming either says that we're great and we can do this, or this programming says we're not, or this programming questions our ability. Because I've realized one thing is that the harshest person in our life is us. We can choose to be our cheerleader, we can choose to be our own mentor, or we can choose to basically blow ourselves up. It just depends on what we want to do. And our thoughts about ourselves are so important. I want to ask you a second question because this question is really it's 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 very important because it directly relates to the first question I asked you. How do you think about other people? What are your thoughts about other people in your life? Do you see them as being like, do you see people like having other people in your life as being cooperative? Do you see like cooperation? Is cooperation like one of your main things in life? Or is it more of competition? Do you see people as being able to, hang out with them and one for one for all, and everybody's in it together? Or do you see it as competition? Is it more of a comparison? They have this, I don't have that. They have that, I don't have that. Is that really what it is? Do we see other people as our friends or people we can learn from? Or do we see them as frenemies? Or are we fearful of them? Are we scared of them? Or do we fear that they're going to turn on us? Do we feel that they're going to do something to us that's wrong because of programming from earlier where people did not treat us well or lied to us or took advantage of us? I want you to think about that. Because are they out to help us or are they out to get us? Are the people out to help you or the people out to get you? And these are the questions that I ask you because these are the things that shape our world. This is how we act around other people. This is how we see other people in our life. And it's interesting because I can tell when I'm dealing with people with their body language how they feel about interacting with people. And sometimes, and I know that this, is that you've come into a group of people or you ran into somebody and someone was really nice to your face, but it just didn't feel very genuine, right? Well, that's because somebody's not being very genuine, right? So they're putting on some sort of fake air to hide their reality for whatever reason that is. And so it can be hard because if we just listen to the way that people act around us, if we just listen to what they say instead of what they do, we can be completely confused. And that's something that I really want you to think about too, is that instead of really looking at, instead of really listening, look. Because I always think that when we look and pay attention, the attention to what they do or don't do is way more powerful than what they say. I'm a big believer in words, but I believe that words are only used properly when there's actually truth to them, when somebody actually believes in what they say. We've seen here and there and around the whole country, around the whole world, how people speak out of one side of their mouth. And unfortunately, that is kind of trickling down, so we have to be aware of it. So instead of being taken advantage of, we have to get very super mindful. Super mindful in the fact that we have to know where people are coming from, and we have to connect with ourselves and connect with why we feel a certain way. What's happening? Are these people friends or foes? But if we believe people to be one way or another without giving them the benefit of the doubt and without seeing what they're doing, we're making a judgment call, right? So stay tuned. I'm going to be asking you some other questions on life situations, spouse, and the world we're living in later on. Dan Nelson will be here, so don't miss that. We're going to be talking about anarchy. Living True Life Perspectives. With your host, me, Ashley Burns, will be back in. I'll be back this time. We are all striving to live our true.
Hi, my name is Reginald Harvey, and I'm a wellness champion. Self-determinance is my preferred way of living whenever possible. But life just throws challenges in our path that don't fit our personal plans. How do you bridge these life road bumps? I just published the medical memoir Anatomy of a Patient as a journal of my battle with the life-threatening illness, stage 4 renal failure. I have learned that disease is just the clinical definition of the sickness, whereas illness is how we choose to live with it. In my case, I immediately had to decide whether to run and hide and wait to die, or to dare to live. No, dare to thrive. Join me in a conversation that few are willing to have. You can hear me on Live Your True Life Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. For more information, go to reggieharvey.net. That's REGGIE Harvey.net.
Money, 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 money. You gotta have it. When you need it, what do? If you don't have a rich uncle, call Lending Tree. With us, hundreds of banks compete for your business. So you'll get loans with competitive interest rates, and in some cases, with no closing costs. So here's the deal. If you need money, call us. Do you want to refinance your current loan? Are you 62 or older and interested in a reverse mortgage? Then call Lending Tree now. 800-634-1315. 800-634-1315. We've closed over $250 billion in loans. We know what we're doing and can help you. Call right now for a free quote. 800-634-1315. 800-634-1315. 800-634-1315. That's 800-634-1315. NMLS number 1136.
We are all striving to live our true life, and part of living our true life is learning about our past. Passing knowledge and family history down to the next generations help those generations to learn where they came from, who they're related to, and to learn about the accomplishments of their ancestors. We've all seen the commercials on TV where you buy a kit, spit into the plastic tube, and receive a few morsels of information that need a lot more connecting of the family dots. Instead, how about hiring a true professional to help you find out your true full family history? Dan Nelson is the resident historian of Live Your True Life Perspectives, a professional who does more than looking you up on the internet and compiling those small bits of history. He travels the country doing research about things your family deserve to know. Check out Dan's website. Go to dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's www.dancestors genealogy.com. And give the gift of your family history to your family today.
Hi, my name is Reginald Harvey, and I'm a wellness champion. Self-determinance is my preferred way of living whenever possible. But life just throws challenges in our path that don't fit our personal plans. How do you bridge these life road bumps? I just published the medical memoir Anatomy of a Patient as a journal of my battle with the life-threatening illness, stage 4 renal failure. I have learned that disease is just the clinical definition of the sickness, whereas illness is how we choose to live with it. In my case, I immediately had to decide whether to run and hide and wait to die, or to dare to live. No, dare to thrive. Join me in a conversation that few are willing to have. You can hear me on Live Your True Life Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. For more information, go to reggieharvey.net. That's REGGIE Harvey.net.
Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Glad to be back. Today I'm asking the question and talking about the concept of our personal thoughts and how they can create happiness, they can create peace, they can create stress, they can create anxiety, and all of the above. Yes, very true. And I know that if any of you, most of you, catch yourself living in your own mind, and that we're not mindful necessarily, we're in that thinking mind, and when the thinking mind, we kind of stand on the sidelines and we begin to analyze our situation. But sometimes we don't realize how our actual thoughts impact us on a daily basis. And right before the break, I was talking about asking yourself, how do you think about yourself? You know, how do you think about yourself? Are you a fan or a foe, a cheerleader or the executioner, self-love or self-loathing? I also brought up the fact of how do you think about others? How do you think about others? Cooperation versus competition, friends versus frenemies, comparing or not comparing. Are they out to help us or are they out to hurt us? And it's interesting because when we believe a certain way, it can be very challenging to, one, put ourselves out there because of fear of what the other person's going to do. Or we can actually believe another extreme way and feel like everybody is going to be helpful and helpful to us, which is just not the case. So we have to actually analyze and think through what is it that I guess what I'm saying is we have to think through how do we see people? How are we dealing with them? What are we thinking about that? Where is that going in our lives? And I think it's a powerful position to be in, but we have to analyze that. So the next question is, how do we see our life situation? How do we see our life situation? How do we see it? Is it solid? Is it on solid ground? Do you see your life situation as being on solid ground? Do you see that it's solid? Do you feel like it's, okay, I feel like I'm on solid ground. I feel like I'm doing what I need to do. I'm feeling like I understand where I need to be at. Or am I feeling like I'm on quicksand? Do I feel like I'm on quicksand? Is there somewhere in between? Is there some moments where you feel like you're in quicksand and some moments that you feel like you're solid? Is there certain areas of your life that you feel more solid than others? Does your work, do you feel more solid at work? Do you feel more solid with the family? Do you feel more solid in your spirituality, in your religion? What is it that you feel very solid in? On the other hand, what is it that you feel like you have a tough time grasping? Where is it in your life where you feel like you're kind of not on solid ground? You feel like you're teetering, you're worried, you're anxious because of the situation. How do we see ourselves in our life? Do we see ourselves as a success? In what areas do we see ourselves as a success? And what areas do we see our life as a success? On the other hand, in what areas do we feel like we don't have success? What areas do we feel like we might be somewhat of a failure, or we feel like we have failed? And one of the things that I've shared in multiple shows is that I do not agree that failure is anything. I think that failure is not doing. I haven't ever felt like if you actually did something that you failed. I just don't believe that. I can't agree with that. I know that people say, well, if you fail and it doesn't work, okay, but is that failure, or was it just, okay, I have to pivot a little bit to try to figure out the next step? I mean, I've pivoted a lot in my life. I get it. And it's like, what part do I have to move and augment just a little bit? And the last question that I have for you in this segment is, when you're looking at your life situation, do you validate it? Do you validate your life? Do you see the validation? Do you connect with the validation? Is there validation there? Do you feel it? Or do you feel like a lot of times you've made mistakes in your life? What are the mistakes? Where do you feel like you've made mistakes at? And, those are things that I want you to think about, because a lot of times we can harp on, and because of our mental thoughts and programming, those mistakes become a life of their own, and they get in the way of us living how we need to live, or us living how we want to live, because we're fearful of making other mistakes. We're scared of making other mistakes, so we just don't put ourselves out there. Stay tuned. We got a next segment for you, a long segment, obviously. We're talking a lot more. Also, Dan Nelson will be joining us midway through that segment 2, talking about anarchy and a lot of other neat stuff. Stay tuned. We're Life Perspectives. With your host, me, Ashley Burgess. We'll be back this time on Tuesday. We are all striving to live our true life. Life is learning about our past. Passing knowledge and family history down to the next generations help those generations to learn where they came from, who they're related to, and to learn about the accomplishments of their ancestors. We've all seen the commercials on TV where you buy a kit, spit into the tube, and receive a few morsels of information that need a lot more connecting of the family dots. Instead, how about hiring a true professional to help you find out your true full family history? Dan Nelson is the resident historian of Live Your True Life Perspectives, a professional who does more than looking you up on the internet and compiling those small bits of history. He travels the country doing research about things your family deserve to know. Check out Dan's website. Go to dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's www.dancestors genealogy.com, and give the gift of your family history to your family today.
USA Radio News with Tim Berg.
Busy weekend in Washington, D.C. as lawmakers continuing to work behind the scenes on a COVID-19 and omnibus bill. Congress is in session this weekend. Negotiations happening mainly, though, behind the scenes. No votes on a coronavirus bill are expected until Sunday afternoon at the earliest. A hospital outside of Chicago temporarily suspended coronavirus vaccinations Friday after 4 team members experienced adverse reactions. Regarding reactions to vaccines, Dr. Nicole Saphier says we have to remember
Just about any person can have a reaction to just about any medication, including a placebo medication. And if you look at the clinical trial data, specifically Pfizer, the rate of allergic reaction was about 0.61% versus the placebo group, which was 0.53%.
That audio courtesy of Fox News, USA Radio News.
Does your business spend $500 a month or more on gas and electric bills? Did you know by making a simple free phone call, you can save up to 25% on your bill every month? What could you do with a 25% savings on utility bills every month? Energy deregulation is now available in your state. Making one simple phone call will show you how we can lower your gas and electric bills instantly with no changes to your bill and no enrollment fee. This is a free service. The only thing you'll notice is a lower bill every month. Call US Power and Light right now. Learn how easy it is to lower your utility bills for your business and save money. We promise. So if you spend over $500 a month on your gas and electric bills, please call right now and unleash your savings. 800-941-3381. 800-941-3381. 800-941-3381. That's 800-941-3381.
We are all striving to live our true life, and part of living our true life is learning about our past. Passing knowledge and family history down to the next generations help those generations to learn where they came from, who they're related to, and to learn about the accomplishments of their ancestors. We've all seen the commercials on TV where you buy a kit, spit into the plastic tube, and receive a few morsels of information that need a lot more connecting of the family dots. Instead, how about hiring a true professional to help you find out your true, full family history? Dan Nelson is the resident historian of Live Your True Life Perspectives, a professional who does more than looking you up on the internet and compiling those small bits of history. He travels the country doing research about things your family deserve to know. Check out Dan's website. Go to dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's www.dancestors genealogy.com. And give the gift of your family history to your family today.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
800-871-3291. 800-871-3291. Again, that's 800-871-3291.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives. Now, here's Ashley.
Hey, welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, I'm talking about personal thought, creating happiness, pain, peace, stress, anxiety, and all the above. Our thoughts can, they can get us animated. Our thoughts can get us in action. Our thoughts can keep us in a state of inaction. You know, it's interesting how our thoughts can control us, right? Our thoughts create the emotion that we feel. We can feel like we're on top of the world, or we can feel like we're some part of the Titanic. Just depends. And right before the break, I was asking those questions about, how do we feel about ourselves? What are the thoughts in our head? Are we there for ourselves? Are we a cheerleader? Are we against ourselves based on our programming of how we were raised? I asked about how you feel about other people, based on that programming or what happened in your past or things that you've dealt with, your history. Those are big, big things. And the last question that I was asking about is, how do we see our life situation? How do we see it? How do we see our life situation? Do we see it as being solid? Do we see it as like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall. I mean, some of us are in that position where we're constantly waiting for the other shoe to fall because it's fallen multiple times. Like, it's just like, what's going to happen next? I don't know. I have to prepare myself for the possibility here. And, it's interesting, like when I talk with clients who, have made money, lost money, made money, lost money, that kind of sort of thing, or, extreme situations in their life. They're like, I just don't even know anymore what is going to happen. And none of us have a crystal ball, but I know that the way that we think and the projection of our thoughts and the way that that goes and how that connects with us and how that interferes with our happiness, our state of mind, how that interferes with our equilibrium, how that can get in the way of us feeling happy or sad or whatever, dynamic, non-dynamic. I mean, I know how it is when, I've walked into a room before where I felt on top of the world, and I've walked into a room before where I was hoping that nobody would see me. Been there, done that, worn that t-shirt, gotten that sweatshirt combination, It's like, okay, I don't know. I mean, I've been there, and I think that many of us who've been there understand what that's like. But we're doing it not just when we're walking in a room, not when we're just hanging out with people. We're doing this all the time, guys. This is an everyday, all day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You think that CNN ticker tape on the bottom or the Fox ticker tape on the bottom, you think that's fast? Oh, come on. Our thoughts are so much faster than that. We have way more thoughts than that ticker tape ever had going through our brain. And if you're not watching it and you're not aware of it, you have no idea what's steering the ship. You're the ship. That's the key, right? You're the ship in this analogy, right? That's what I'm talking about. So what is steering the ship? What are your thoughts that are steering the ship? How do we treat our spouse? That's a great question. How do we treat our spouse? How does that happen? Do we treat our spouse with respect or no respect? Do we, is our spouse our best friend or our enemy? Are us and our spouse, are we close or are we at arm's length? Now, a lot of that's because of past relationships, but also what has our spouse done to create that reality in our own head, that programming? Or how fearful are we to connect? Or how do we feel? Or what stresses us out? Or what's going on in our own headset that's creating that reality? And I have a video coming out here soon. I think in a few days, actually. It kind of depends on which one we're going to put out first. But, it's all about that programming and how that programming and our spouse, everybody can be, it's not just one person's issue. Okay? When there's two people involved, there's not just one person's issue. But I'm talking about programming and how the programming in our own mind about our own self and about our own thoughts about love and relationships and marriage get in the way too of our marriage, just like dealing with our spouse and their issues, their programming, their thoughts, their stuff that's holding them back, all that stuff in life, which is very important. Some of you are married, been married for a long time, but you treat strangers better than you treat your own spouse. Why is that? It's interesting how we take things for granted too, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that here in the last segment, because I know that a lot of us are also stressed out because the world we live in right now. How do we see the world we live in? Do we see it as being honest? Do we see our lawmakers as being honest or dishonest? Do we see our government as being helpful or controlling? Do we see ourselves in a situation that's freedom or a dictatorship? How do we see it? Because I know that the way that we think about things is not always in gray. We hear something that's happening and it stresses us out. We see something else that happens. Okay, well, there's hope. Oh, wait, not again. And we have all these things going on. And that's part of the issue too, because we have all this news coming at us so fast. How do we digest it? How do we feel about it? How does that connect with our matrix? How does that connect with our programming? How does that connect with our thought? How does our programming connect with our thought? How does our programming and thought connect with our action or non-action? Okay, so this is why we're talking about this, because there's so much going on right now. So much going on right now. And I know that some of you are so overwhelmed with current events. You can't stop. You're overwhelmed with it. You can't even focus on your own life because the current events are overwhelming you. You're stressed out. What's going to happen next? Where is our world going? What's going to happen to our economy? What's going to happen to our government? And on top of that, we got all this other stuff going on in our head too. How our marriage is dealing with it. How our marriage isn't working. What's going on in our own private life? What's happening in our own career? What's happening in our own successes? What's not happening? What has fallen by the wayside? What has fallen apart since this year? Okay. And so some of us can feel like some of our life is almost like anarchy. It can almost feel like anarchy. And I understand that. And so right now I feel it is the time to talk about, well, let's go back to history a little bit. Let's talk about history. We got Dan Nelson, our resident genealogist, our resident historian, that helps us to connect back with history, to know that, there was always some sort of chaos. And in this situation, there was anarchy. Dan, great to have you live on Live Your True Life Perspectives.
Glad to be here, Ashley.
Glad to have you on. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. This story I came across again this week, and I thought, I should dig into that more and find out more because it was quite impactful. And what this really has to do with, there's a lot of shows like Game of Thrones, things about Henry VIII. Right now, you've got The Crown, which is more modern times. But you talked earlier about, are they out to help you or are they out to get you? People that you encounter. Well, if you were a member of the royal court or nobility, I mean, that was a constant, outlook that you had to have. There was a lot of intrigue to get into favor, out of favor, and you're trying to gain power, influence, wealth, and alliances would shift all the time. I mean, you had arranged marriages. I mean, you could not take your situation for granted. It was not at all boring to be in that situation. And if you got on the wrong side, you could easily have your head chopped off, or like the best case scenario is you just got exiled. And, plots, rebellions, disease, wars, battles, all these things affected this. But there wasn't one really single act in the history of all the years of royalty in England that had such an impact as what was called the White Ship disaster. And what happened is, so William the Conqueror, he came from Normandy, which is in France, to invade England, became the conqueror of England. Well, today, if you think about, that's not a big deal across the English Channel, even though, if you think back to like when we invaded the beaches of Normandy, that wasn't an easy effort. Well, they had to take these ships back and forth across the English Channel. It wasn't like you had these massive, never fail sturdy ships. So William the Conqueror's bastard son, he was known as actually Henry the Bastard. They probably only called him that behind his back, but he was Henry Beauclerk in front of him. And anyways, his party was going to travel back across the English Channel, and they were leaving Normandy. This was in 1120, so a few years ago, and there was about 300 people on board this particular ship. Now, he'd gone ahead, the king, on a slower ship, but it was his ship, and the rest of the people he put on this white ship, and there was 300 people on this white ship, and they ended up all but one ended up dying. And what happened, the people on this ship was the son of the king, the heir apparent, William Adeline, and then his half-sister Matilda and half-brother Richard. So these all three are in the line of succession. And then several other important people that, unless you're into royalty, you wouldn't necessarily know who they were. But it caused a succession crisis and led to anarchy. So to give you a little more detail on it, there was a guy who was the captain of the ship. His name was Thomas Fitzstephen, and he was a well-respected ship's captain. He was the captain of the ship that William the Conqueror used when he invaded England in 1066. So, he had good ship's captain's credentials. And so he offered to Henry, King Henry, to return them from Normandy. And since Henry had already made other arrangements, he said, hey, take all these, cool folks, part of my party here, all this nobility and, people super important to him, members of the royal family. And this was all chronicled by one person who interviewed the one survivor. And he said, so here's what happened is the heir apparent, William Adeline, he asked for wine for everybody. And so the crew supplied it in great abundance. And by the time they were ready to leave, there were 300 people that were sort of into binge drinking at that point. So actually a future king, he didn't know it at the time, Stephen of Blois, had disembarked because he just thought these people are out of control. So apparently, they were over partying. And so he was told by these revelers, Thomas Fitzstephen, since your ship is so fast, and it was a fast ship, it was built to the best construction, had new materials, which you just used the phrase, the captain of the Titanic. Well, I guess back in the day, he was essentially the captain of the Titanic. And so they said, hey, your ship's so fast, we can get to England before the king. Wouldn't that be cool? So they took off in the dark to maximize time and managed to hit a submerged rock. And the ship quickly capsized. So William Adeline got into the small boat, which, was essentially the lifeboat of the day, and could have escaped, which would have, save the heir to the throne. But he supposedly went back because he heard the cries of his half-sister Matilda to rescue her, and then everybody grabbed the side of the boat and got swamped, and all those people drowned. So the only guy that survived was a butcher, and supposedly they think he was on board because he was trying to collect money for supplying meat to the royal party. And it was even said that he saw the captain of the ship come to the surface, and then after learning that the heir apparent King William had died, he let himself drown rather than face the king, because that probably wasn't going to be good times. And so because of this happening, you've lost the heir to the throne. And so Matilda said, hey, I should be, the heir to the throne. Of course, she'd never had a woman queen, who was essentially a king at that point. This was many years before Victoria and Elizabeth and folks that we're more familiar with. And so she was married to a guy named Geoffrey the fifth Count of Anjou, and he was an enemy of most of the Norman nobles, so he wasn't real popular. So this Stephen that I mentioned before, he was the king's nephew. Well, he sort of usurped Matilda, and he grabbed the throne and, sort of took over. And they actually go back, and even the chronicler says that the reason he got off the ship was because he had a sudden bout of diarrhea. So, even back then, that made the news, like we had Lamar Jackson last Sunday with his cramps having to leave the game. So, it's never stopped affecting people. But anyways, it started, it started a long and devastating war between Stephen and Matilda that lasted for 18 years and really was just extremely destructive to England, just because one ship sank. So just to give you a full idea of all the people that died on this, there were 140 knights or noblemen. Now, knights or noblemen, they weren't like, in abundance. There wasn't like 10,000 knights. I mean, these were people that were specially trained, led in battle. So it'd probably be equivalent today to have something happen where 500 generals and colonels and admirals all died at once in terms of the impact on the ability of England to, wage war and everybody who was in good stead. All those people sort of had to get replaced. And so it was really quite impactful.
Wow, that is anarchy. It's crazy. And the butcher lived, but did the butcher kill himself, or did he live, or he drowned?
No, the butcher lived, and I guess he wasn't into the. I don't know if he ever got paid, but I guess he wasn't into the politics. Yeah, he wasn't into the politics enough that they blamed him, or he suffered for it for anyway. I mean, if he hadn't lived, it would have been all theory. And I don't know if that was, a time where people started saying, hey, maybe we need to spread out, modern day, like corporate America, whatever, you don't all travel on the same plane flight. And, there's various reasons you don't put too many important people all in the same, at the same level of risk. And so maybe that was sort of one of the first times where that lesson may have partially been learned.
Interesting. Very valuable information. It's interesting how things do change. But they kind of stay the same, though, because that would have been a huge impact on any country, especially nowadays. It's like, that'd be like losing like various options, Air Force One, multiple situations. So what year was that?
1120.
1120. Okay.
Yeah.
Very.
So yeah, if you're gonna sail across the English Channel, don't do it on November 25th. Maybe that's a bad weather day over there.
That is awesome, Dan. Well, I look forward to having you back on next week for us to talk more about history and how history does have a tendency to repeat itself. Great story, Dan. Thanks for being on today.
Glad to be here, and everybody have a Merry Christmas. My best to all the listeners out there, and we'll talk to you next week.
The True Life Perspectives, we'll be back this time. This is what Ashley Burgess. We are all striving to live our true life, and part of living our true life is learning about our past. Passing knowledge and family history down to the next generations help those generations to learn where they came from, who they're related to, and to learn about the accomplishments of their ancestors. The commercials on TV where you buy a kit, spit into the plastic tube, receive a few morsels of information that need a lot more connecting of the family dots. Instead, how about hiring a true professional to help you find out your true full family history? Dan Nelson is the resident historian of Live Your True Life Perspectives, a professional who does more than looking you up on the internet and compiling those small bits of history. He travels the country doing research about things your family deserve to know. Check out Dan's website. Go to dancestorsgenealogy.com. That's www.dancestors genealogy.com, and give the gift of your family history to your family today.
Hi, my name is Reginald Harvey, and I'm a wellness champion. Self-determinance is my preferred way of living whenever possible. But life just throws challenges in our path that don't fit our personal plans. How do you bridge these life road bumps? I just published the medical memoir Anatomy of a Patient as a journal of my battle with the life-threatening illness, stage 4 renal failure. I have learned that disease is just the clinical definition of the sickness, whereas illness is how we choose to live with it. In my case, I immediately had to decide whether to run and hide and wait to die, or to dare to live. No, dare to thrive. Join me in a conversation that few are willing to have. You can hear me on Live Your True Life Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
I hear you.
For more information, go to reggieharvey.net. That's REGGIE Harvey.net.
We are all striving to live our true life, and part of living our true life is learning about our past. Passing knowledge and family history down to the next generations help those generations to learn where they came from, who they're related to, and to learn about the accomplishments of their ancestors. We've all seen the commercials on TV where you buy a kit, spin into a plastic tube, and receive a few morsels of information that need a lot more connecting of the family dots. Instead, how about hiring a true professional to help you find out your true family history? Dan Nelson is the resident historian of Live Your True Life Perspectives, a professional who does more than looking you up on the internet and compiling bits of history. He travels the country doing renowned things that your family deserve to know. Take a moment now and contact Dan at 214-914-3598. That's 214-914-3598, and begin to learn your history today.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. We've been talking today. Well, Dan's segment was great. I love that. Nothing like anarchy when you lose 250 people and 140 knights and noblemen and everybody else in the process. It's insane. And I guess it was anarchy. I mean, it's amazing. And I think a lot of us might be feeling that way as well, as far as, there's so many things going on in our lives. There's so many feelings we have. We're being pulled in so many different directions. It's hard to figure out, where we need to be at, where our thought processes is, and where we can focus our energy. And so, at the end of every show, at the end of this live show, I always love to have some nuggets of thought, right? Things that we can think about, things that we can chew on, things that we can analyze, things that can make our lives better, because that's what it's all about. So I ask you first question, what are some thoughts that you can augment or create to create a more peaceful and joy in your life? What are some things that you can really focus on? Or what are some of those thoughts that you can build upon? Or what are some of those thinking processes that you can connect with that is more peaceful and joy-filled? What are some areas that we can refocus our energy as well? Because I know that some of us, we have our energy, we're focusing on things. Are there some areas that are kind of dead ends? Are there some areas that are causing us more anger, resentment? Are there some areas that it's out of control? We don't have any control over it, so it's really overwhelming. We're putting a lot of energy in it, a lot of energy, and it's interesting. It's like what is that about? What can we do? How do we refocus that energy? Are we using it for the right way? Are we using it for the right reasons? Are we actually helping ourselves or hindering ourselves? And then the last question that I want to ask you, and this is going to nail it for some of y'all, is what are some areas that you need to stand up for what you believe in because it hurts your soul not to do so? What are some things in your life or some things that are happening that you have to stand up for, that you try to avoid, you've tried to silence, you've tried to ignore, you've tried to put your head in the sand, but you can't? What are some of those areas that you have to stand up for? And what are you planning on doing to stand up for it? Think about this stuff. This is big time. This is your life that we're talking about. This is your happiness. It's not about other people's happiness. It's not about other people's success or non-successes. It's about you. And this is a powerful place to be. These are thoughts that we rarely have about ourselves. I mean, like I've said before, and I'll say it again. I mean, we know more about someone that you swipe left or right on a dating app than many of us know about ourselves. We know more about the stranger that we saw in the mall the other day than we know more about ourselves. And so these questions are very powerful. If you haven't already, check out the website. Go to ashleyburgess.com. Ashley, and Burgess is spelled Berges, Berges, ashleyburgess.com. Also, if you haven't already, check out the YouTube channel. Subscribe, be a subscriber, get the information, find out when the videos come, find out when the next video is going to drop. You get to get that information if you subscribe and subscribe to the notifications. We have new video content out every single week. Also, the live radio shows on USA Radio Networks are lively streamed with video content on YouTube as well as Facebook and other social medias. But in the process, I want you to connect with your thoughts. I want you to figure out what those thoughts were before you had a feeling. What was the predication? You deserve to know what's going on in your own mind. You deserve to know what's controlling you. You deserve to know where your thoughts are all the time. Where are your thoughts? It's like, where are your kids? Where are your thoughts? And I hope that everybody has a beautiful holiday. I know that some holidays have already begun. I know that we're about to hit Christmas here in a few days. I know some of you feel as though you feel like me. There has been no shopping. You've gotten no cards out, and you haven't done a tree this year. But you still have the feeling. I mean, I still care, but I feel that holiday is a state of mind. I feel that this time of year is really a state of mind that we could live in for our entire year, all year long. Not about the things. It's about who you are and what you believe in. It's about being mindful. It's about finding that self acceptance and self value and seeing the value of the others around us. And that's what brings us joy. That's what connects us. That's the soul's journey. So I wish you the best of holidays. We'll be back next week live as well, right after Christmas. I know that some of yours are, Hanukkah and various different holidays as well. And so I hope that you have a beautiful holiday. And if you're celebrating just being you, I celebrate that as well. So don't forget to check out the website, check out the YouTube channel. Also find Ashley Burgess on Facebook or Live Your True Life Perspectives on Facebook as well. And looking forward to a great show next week. And remember, your thoughts, well, they impact us more than we ever know. If we organize those thoughts and understand them, we become powerful in our own life. Live Your True Life Perspectives. With me, your host, Ashley Burgess. We'll be back in. Well, I'll be back this time in 3 states. Good job. We are all striving to live our true life, and part of living our true life is learning about our past. Passing knowledge and family history down to the next generations help those generations to learn where they came from, who they're related to, and to learn about the accomplishments of their ancestors. Okie dokie. We just turn off our live link up to the station, and so we are just going to talk here for just a couple of minutes. I hope that I've connected with y'all on some of these concepts because it's kind of powerful stuff, and I feel that it's something to talk about. I think it's something to connect with. I think it's something to be able to understand, where are we, what are we doing, what are our thought processes, who are we, what do our thoughts say about us. And one thing that I want to leave with y'all today is that, when we start inventorying these thoughts and connecting with our thoughts and understanding what they are, we can understand why we feel a certain way about ourselves. We can understand why we have a certain emotion, why a certain emotion shows up. We can understand when someone says something to us that triggers us, we can understand why we're triggered, because it's somewhere within us. And that's something that I really want you to think about, is that, someone cannot trigger us unless there's something in our programming that makes us feel like we're being triggered. We're under assault. We're under attack. We're having to become defensive, whatever that looks like. And it's something to think about. Because when we understand that clearly, we begin to understand the fact that if something's not in our head, someone can't trigger us. And one of the examples that I like to use is that, it's like, if you've ever lost a job before and you keep thinking over and over again, I can't believe I lost my job. I got to find another job. I got to find another job. Oh my God, I got to get a job. Oh my God. And the stress is just building up. And the next thing you know, you're working on the computer and, your spouse comes in and goes, when are you going to ever get a job? And you're just like, and it's like, you do it because it's like, that's what's in your head. It's triggering you to what you're thinking. And that's what triggering is. It's like, it's in your head. It's already there. It might not be that, conscious. Like it's normally not that conscious. It's not like the last thought you thought of, but it's somewhere in the recesses of our thoughts, sometimes in our subconscious. And it really just, and sometimes we don't realize it's in our subconscious, and it makes us so upset. It makes us angry. It makes us resentful. It makes us defensive. And these are the things that we need to connect with, because that programming is causing us some pain and suffering in our life. And once we get to that, sooner we get to that, the better it is. I want to shout out to everybody that was watching here on the live feed. BB, Red Pill, thank you. BB, Nas, good to see you. Mike, great to see you. I love it. That's a great comment, Mike. Steven, great to see you. Vanessa, great to see you. Kenny, how are you doing? Joe, great to see you. Michelle, great to see you. Let's see. Alyssa, great to see you. Anshul, great to see you. Low-N Light. That's a great name. Great to see you. And everybody else that's tuned in as well. I really appreciate it. And if you have some thoughts on the show as far as some subject matters, I'm going to try to figure out how to eliminate those commercials. They're radio commercials. The only way I can eliminate them is to turn off the Comrex machine. That's the direct satellite uplink to the station, and I have to be able to get it back. So it's a thought that I'm kind of wrestling in my head. I'm actually going to be creating some new commercial content too. If you have anybody or know anybody that has any products or services or businesses that you think would connect with my message, please let me know, because we are going to be adding some new products here in January with some companies that we are aligning with. And so, we'll be adding some to that repertoire as well. So, but if you do know of a company, a service, a product, something that you really connect with, or something of your own that you really connect with, please let us know and reach out. You can go to the contact page on my website, Ashley Burgess, Ashley Berges. Go to that contact page and you'll see all the little faces of folks there, and connect with our media liaison on that, or Bill, the producer, one or the other, or even George or Bill or Brian, and let us know. Also, if you like the show and you want the show in your area, if you want to be able to hear the show live on your AM or FM component in your area, please let us know. You can actually reach out on that contact page, ashleyburgess.com contact page, and reach out to Adam. Adam is our associate at GCN. He works for the show. He connects it, and GCN is our syndicator with the Westwood One satellite. So let us know if you would like to have it in your area as well. And that it can be interesting, because we're just trying to get the message out, and the message is only as far out as the message goes. And so if you know of a station, or if you're connected with a station owner or producer or program director, or if you just like the show, want to reach out to your stations, just let us know, because we would love to be on there. By the way, the show's been around since May of 2012. May 5th, 2012 was our first live show. So it's been an interesting run, right? So let us know if you have any questions or thoughts. Are great. Mystique, great to see you. I really appreciate it. And it's so great to see y'all here, and everybody else that's tuned in. Just let us know. We got some great videos coming up. I got another video coming up to that, to the last video that we did on programming, how to not fall for the triggering, and how to understand the programming. And then the next one that's coming out is marital issues. What's really causing the marital issues, really getting to the bottom of the nitty gritty and understanding that. And I think that that's going to be really powerful, because I think a lot of people are going through it. And I think that, it's hard because a lot of us are dealing with it, and especially this year when we've been spending more and more time, many people have been spending more and more time at home. You're starting to see, the inconsistencies, starting to feel a little more stressed out about the situation, and all this stuff definitely piles up. Neil, great. I'm so glad you tuned in from the UK in the house. So great to see you as well. I saw that Texas was in the house as well with Michelle. So everybody, this is interesting. We got the UK, we got Texas, and I think we got everywhere in between. So it's very awesome that we're all here. And we were actually on a station in the UK for a while, for like 5 years, and I don't think we are anymore. So anyway, we can also do that too. That would probably be a different type of satellite situation, or it might be a Dropbox or an FTP situation that we can run from here. But yeah, let us know, because definitely across the pond is always great, and we always need light and love type stuff that really helps us to impact our life. That's where we need to be at. Monica, great to see you. Thank you for tuning in from Poland. See, we're getting some folks here. Poland, that's a good spot. It's like we need to continue to resonate at our highest frequencies, to connect with other people, to get the word out, to share with people this information. There's a lot of people that need this information. There's a lot of people that you can impact on a daily basis. And that's what I really want is, sharing the content, but also impacting those folks around you that you care about and would connect with the content. Sometimes people don't, want to connect with the content, but there are those people out there that do, and that's what matters. And I think that, if you're listening to the show, you're highly intelligent, you're evolved, you understand that there's a lot of things in life that you want to create. You're trying to impact people in a positive, healthy way, and that matters. And so keep doing that. Keep stepping up to the plate every day. Sometimes it might be difficult, but just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Your work is being shown to others. People know it. They recognize it, and they're impressed by it. So keep it up, because, a lot of times we don't even realize that people are watching when we don't even know it. Okie dokie. Have a great one. Have a great holiday. I will be back. George will be back next Saturday here for the show. Bill will be out of town. He's actually visiting his sister, so that'll be good. He'll be having fun. And we'll be here, though, so we're not leaving. And to all you, we wish you health and happiness, but not just in December. You know what I mean? This is every day, all day thing. So. And that's the way I look at it, is that the kind of the mindset that a lot of people get into during the holidays needs to be the mindset that people have all year long. It's just hard because we all have stuff that we have to do, and sometimes we lose sight of that mindfulness, the contentment, and the joy. But in the meantime, I care about you. We care about you. We love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. BB, thank you so much for tuning in. New York here. Yes. Perfect. And, yeah, New York. We love New York. Good spot. Good spot. And just let us know what you'd like to talk about. And I'm also going to be doing some more stuff here on the channel. We got the members only option too. Obviously, most of our content comes out straight up, and then we're going to have members content. I'm also putting up all the celebrity perspective. That was the original show that I did with Amazon Prime. We're working on a second season, but obviously COVID has gotten in the way of some stuff. But season 1 will be fully up there in the next few days for members to watch. So it's not just an Amazon thing right now. You can watch it now privately on the YouTube. I want to get the content out. The reason why I did the show was to connect with, some celebrities to discuss their issues, to get deep into things. And none of it was scripted. I just met them originally at the very time that we did the interview. Everything was just off the cuff. And I wanted to have honest interviews, not scripted, not BS, like real. And that's what I think we're missing in today's life, right? This is what we're missing. And we need to have reality. When we see a lot of interviews, it's all smoke and mirrors, and it's time to see truth. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, everybody from all around the world, and thank you so much. Just some of y'all's messages, all your messages are amazing, and I love being able to connect and see that, the work that I'm doing and the work we're doing is impacting. And just appreciate y'all, and appreciate the group, appreciate the tribe. Continue on. See you next week. Love y'all. Bye-bye.